Hello guys, this is Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM Reacts episode 4 and 13. And today we're reacting to Purple Roads episode 8. Michael, Pappy, Drewitt, Cariglio, or you can pronounce it. Never heard of this guy before. And we're going to react to this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm Carrie Stinson, and my
Wow.
journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour, and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show Barney and Friends.
Wow.
Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carrie Stinson, and this is Purple Roads.
Wow, this is new.
Welcome to another episode of Purple Roads. I am so glad you're here. We're very excited today. The guest we have, Michael Cariglio, I hope I got his name right. He starred as Pappy Drewitt on the show Pappy Land, and we're so excited to have him here today. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Infusion HF70 Plus. We are so proud and thankful that they're part of this show.
Wow.
So we want to jump in right now and welcome Michael to the show.
Wow.
How are you, Michael?
I'm doing well, Carrie, and it's an honor to be here with you today.
Wow.
Well, it's so exciting. You know, we both, I think, have a lot in common. All the years I was in Barney and Friends, and then you with Pappy Land. How did Pappy Land get started?
Okay, Pappy Land got started in the early 90s.
Wow.
I was a veteran of the Vietnam era, and after Vietnam, I went into advertising.
Okay.
Wow.
And in the early 90s, I would rent space and do a lot of commercial art and graphic design. And one year in 1992, I think it was the early part of 1993, I met a friend who came to my office, the office I had in Syracuse, New York, and I was renting space from a photographer. Jim Shearsy Photography in Syracuse, New York. Well, my studio was located in his building, and he brought a friend that they had just met, and he was showing him all the offices in the studio, in his own studio there, and they happened to stop in my office. And the fellow that I met was John Napper, and he was an interesting individual. He told me that he was very good friends with the Fishers. I think Harry Fisher's mom, Debbie Reynolds.
Okay.
And and he knew Debbie Reynolds' son, and I can't remember his first name. Well, anyways, and he told me that he had like a 10,000 square foot studio, that he was the producer, and he oversaw that studio. And I said, well, that's really cool.
Wow.
And as we started to converse and further into the discussion of what I did and what he did, I had mentioned that I had this idea to do a children's television program. And I told him that the main character was Pappy Drewitt. And I told him that the whole premise of it was that Pappy lived in this environment called Pappy Land, and he drew Pappy Land. Everything in Pappy Land was Pappy's creation, so to speak.
Wow.
And I told him, I said, if I could, I would love to, get this thing off the ground and actually do a children's entertainment program called Pappy Land. So, to make a long story short, after the meeting, he left, and I didn't expect to hear from him, to be honest with you. But he had contacted me and told me that he'd be interested in doing a pilot.
Wow.
So that's how the beginning. That was the birth of Pappy Land. And what you see over here, if you can see this partial view of the conceptual drawing that I did, which I created when I first did the show.
Wow.
And we did the pilot. You can see that I'm wearing different clothes. Everything was different, but this was the whole initial idea of Pappy Land. I had Chucky. As we know him now as Chucky Woodchuckles. I had the Witch Well. I had a frog. I had Binky the Brush. and I had Wood Street, and I had Fish Face, as you can see over here. He was the character in the water.
Wow.
So John contacted me, and we ended up doing 16 episodes after we secured funding from this individual in California. He put $50,000 into the project. I think it was Brentwood Distribution.
Okay.
And they've done a lot of video, obviously. I think you know that name, being in the business. He put $50,000 into the project, and we did the 16 episodes in Rochester, New York. After the 16 episodes, my partner John Napa decided to be a minister, and he
Wow.
said I said, okay. I says, what does that mean? He says, well, I'm going to have to leave the project. And we were partners, by the way.
Okay.
We were called craftsmen and scribes. He was the scribe, and I was the craftsman.
Oh, okay.
So I made all the, and he did all the writing. And so we were a pretty good team duo here. And anyway, so he decided. And I said, well, gee, John, what do we do now? What am I going to do? Because I'm basically just a creative person. You know, I'm not great on the business end. I'm just a very creative person who loves to create and be creative and make things. So when he left, I kind of was. And at that point on, I just continued to do freelance illustration to pay the bills.
Right.
And apparently, he contacted a gentleman named Eric Roberts, who had his own ad agency at the time. And Eric Roberts came in, and he took over John's position as the executive producer of Pappy. And at that point on, we were involved with the PBS station in Syracuse, New York, where we continued to do more shows until we had a total of 65.
That's wonderful. You know, when I was telling, now we were announcing that you were going to be on this show, the reaction was really amazing about what you've done with kids and art. A lot of kids, a lot of adults now came and said, I learned to draw through you, Michael, through Pappy. Why was art so important? And I see the pencil, by the way. I know that pencil is very famous from the show. Why was it such a passion for you to put art in the show? That'd be the main focus.
Okay, that's a good question. I think the important element in answering that question, or the fact, an important fact in answering that question, is the fact that I'm a kid at heart.
Okay.
I've always been a kid at heart. Even when I was in Vietnam, and I was in that very dangerous situation, I was still very lighthearted and very funny, and I was always being funny. It was just my nature. And so I think that's what helped me get through Vietnam, as well as my artwork. But the reason I decided to do this show is because I do love children. I feel that each child has a door in their heart. And that door is filled, behind that door, the heart is filled with all kinds of creativity and all kinds of wonderful imagination. And a lot of shows at the time, and you know, being the character, that a lot of the shows were just bopping people on the heads and, you know, boink, smash, pop, just crash.
Right.
Everything was just, tell me, I wish they had a kid's show that was just endearing and loving, and the kids could just become themselves and be creative and be joyful, and just like they loved you because of the way you came off to them as being somebody who was approachable and loving and kind. And it was just a wonderful thing. And that's what I tried to emulate in my show. Only I did it through the only talent that I thought I could use to do this would be my artistic talent. So I tried to convey a lot of life skills through my drawings on the show. And that's why there was a drawing. We did a drawing in every episode, which kind of anchored that theme or thought in that particular episode.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think it's brilliant, and it obviously related. And I'm sitting here, my heart's smiling, hearing what you're saying, because that's exactly how we felt. That kids have this amazing imagination, and it's squashed a lot of times. And shows like ours and shows like yours opened them up and allowed them through you guys through drawing. So I don't know. Do you realize when you were doing the show how important what you were doing was for children?
Yes, that was answered through the mail that we received. The response was overwhelming from the parents, but the kids absolutely loved to draw on the episodes. That was the marquee segment of the show, as well as the Hall of Fame segment, where people, the parents would have their children send in their drawings to me, and then I would go to the Hall of Frames and look at the wall, and they'd be filled with the children's drawings, and they absolutely loved that. But there was a drawback.
Okay.
Some of the children that didn't get their drawings showcased, they were kind of like disappointed. They didn't hate me for it, but they were disappointed. And I'm getting some of that response through emails from some of the kids at the time that were 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9 are now in their 30s.
Sure.
And they're telling me some of their drawings they saw on TV, and others told me they didn't get theirs on there, but they still love them. And they went on to do art as a career, which was another inspiring element of the show. Just hearing the emails right now today that all these people, most of the people, I'd say about 80% of my email, they tell me that I taught them how to draw, and I was responsible for them going to art school or becoming an artist.
Wow.
I can't be more blessed than that, I can tell you that much.
Well, that's why I did this show, Purple Roads, because I get that as well. Kids that never felt love, that came from divorced families, and through Barney, they found love, they found their imagination, and unconditional love. And I realized that there's a lot of other people in this industry that had gone through that. And I love hearing that you've gone through that and how wonderful it.
Well, that was a camera shot angle difference. Continue on.
It's got to be to realize that people have art careers because of your show.
Exactly. And one thing that I did like about your show, and I remember watching it on occasion because I needed to watch other children's shows just to inspire me.
Sure.
I love children would run to you and hug you, and you were in the costume.
Wow.
So you almost became like a real person to them, even though you were in this, this fun, cartoony kind of costume.
Mm-hmm.
But they loved the character so much that it became real to them. And when I saw kids running and hug you at the PBS conferences and all that, when you were at any of the PBS conferences, Gary, I was just pure.
Yeah, I would have been at several of those PBS conferences.
Okay, yeah, and there was one we attended in San Francisco. And did Barney ever go to?
Barney did go. Well, I was at that one in San Francisco that you're mentioning, and yes, he did. I was there.
Yes, I saw you there. But the amazing thing about what I did for Pappy Land is I just made a lot of children happy, and the way I would do that to reach out to them and become a personal friend of theirs is by, in the beginning of each episode, I would call them out by name. I see Jane, and I see a Tahisha, and I see a Fred, and I see a Mary, and I see you too, Jane. And it made them think that I was right there in the room with them, because I wanted to captivate my audience and make them feel like, yes, you're a part of the show, and you're special in that way. That's what the parents loved about the whole concept. They wanted something that was endearing, just like Barney, just like Mr. Rogers. They wanted a character who was endearing and that their children could have a safe place to be every morning.
Wow, this is like Rumble Room in style from the 90s. Continue.
So you can hear this show on iTunes and Google and iHeart, but you can also see us on YouTube, and you need to see us on YouTube so that you can see where Pappy is sitting with all of these wonderful characters. Where did the character ideas come from? Where did these puppets come from?
Okay, now I had some initial characters on my conceptual drawing. For instance, Chucky, and like I mentioned, Woody the tree, and Binky the thing. I had a talking pencil, but we switched it to a Binky the brush.
Okay.
But a lot of the characters here were created by John. When I partnered with John, he took my concept. Excuse me. I created Pappy Drewitt, the character. And he took the concept and he made Pappyland. He wrote Pappyland. He gave it substance, and he gave new characters, and he created, for instance, I created all the puppets, but he gave the puppets names.
Okay.
Turtle Luke, Donkey Dan, Chucky Woodchuckles, and of course, a lot of my fans love a Doodlebug. And there was Mailbird, who would always bring the mail to us. And then, of course, there was, I don't know if you can see him, I'll get out of the way here. Whoops. Elmer. He's waiting patiently in the wings to speak to us, but I think his tongue is tied.
Wow.
Leave it on. Just sit there and relax. So John Apple was responsible for writing Pappyland, and Mike Cariglio was responsible for originating the character and the concept, and together we created Pappy.
Wow.
So why a 49er? What was your idea to build the character?
Good question, Kerry, because I'm a lot older than you, and I grew up watching shows like Roy Rogers and those kind of shows. Mm-hmm. And Roy Rogers had a character, I believe his name was Gabby Hayes. And those of you my age out there, if you're watching, probably know who Gabby Hayes is. Well, he was this old codger who had a turned-up hat, and he had the little specs, and he had the kerchief like I had in my original costume. And I fashioned my whole persona after Gabby Hayes. And and he was kind of like his movements were like Pappy. Oh boy! Oh yes, let's do that drawing. Let's go. Let's get it done. Oh, that's a great job you did. So I kind of did that. I just kind of toned it down over time because a lot of the people in production said I was a little bit too hyper, and so I had to kind of slow down a little bit. So now it was more like, "Hi, boys and girls, welcome to Pappyland." And that was the voice I used to kind of make me sound a little older than I was. Uh-huh. And the unique thing is I'm going into the character right now.
Well, that's fascinating. We went through that with Barney, too. We made adjustments. The costume was a different color when we first started. There was a lot of things, as we got feedback, that we made adjustments to as well. So I totally understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it was what we were rated one of the top 10 shows along with your show on TV Guide, and that was really flattering too because I never thought I'd reach the pinnacle where people would put me in a top 10 category of children's entertainment. So that was a real blessing at the time. And the mail was unbelievable.
Wow.
And I learned my lesson that when you say, please send in your drawing, you don't realize that there could be an over response to that. Right. Because we went from just having a bin of, let's say 50 or 70 envelopes to tons of bins that we had to hire people to go through to find out who these children were, what age they were, and get them in the Hall of Frames as many as we possibly could. So the whole thing just amazed me coming from an advertising, an illustrator to doing entertainment. because I thought I could utilize my talent to entertain kids. And the offshoot of all this was I also did appearances like you did. And I would go to malls and entertain the children. And I would go to the South Street Seaport in New York City and do some of the venues that they had there. And that was also a joy, actually seeing the children, having strangers come up to me and say, "I love you, Pappy," and my heart would melt, Gary. And I know you experienced all of this, and probably on a grander scale. But for me, it was just phenomenal how I could feel the warmth that these children had for me, and it melted me. And it would really, like I said, I have to call it a blessing, because to be able to be on the same wavelength as a small child and connect in that way was just amazing. Just amazing for my whole psyche.
Wow.
It's so funny because I use that term. I used to say that a lot. It's amazing the experience. I started out doing birthday parties as Barney when there was no TV show, and you'd go in the house and there'd be 10 kids. And to go from that to having thousands of people show up at tours and arenas, and what we had with the TV show, it was the same aspect when people would come up to you and "I love you, Barney," and you realize you're making a real impact in their life. And as I found out, they end up making a real impact in my life. And I know the kids have done that to you, obviously.
Thank you. That's a good point. See, I think that's what I'm trying to reiterate here, or trying to express, is that they touched my heart to the point where it just kept me going. There were times where I would say to myself, why am I doing this? I mean, I know I'm doing it for the children, but, can I keep doing this?
Sure.
I do an appearance and the kids just come up and show me all that love. I just got reloaded, so to speak. And I just wanted to continue, and I wanted more of that. Because there's more gratification there than all the money in the world.
Wow.
Is knowing that you made a child happy. I had a letter from a woman who was a grandmother.
Wow.
One of my fan mail. One of the envelopes came, I opened it up. In fact, I didn't open it up, but the people who opened up the mail brought it to me and said, "There's a woman here, she's in her 70s or 80s, and she's in a hospital, and she's like, she's really almost on her deathbed." And she said she was so inspired that it just helped her feel alive, just anticipating the beginning of the next episode of Pappy Land. And when I've got that mail, and I get mail similar to that, and of course there's a full gamut of reasons why people love the show. But that one there, I get a lot of mail like that from people that are paraplegics. Some people had autism, and they would express their love for the show. And that is the ammunition that really, really gives me the satisfaction that I did something important in my life.
Once again, we have this connection because the same thing. I always tell people, obviously it was a job, but I had done it for nothing. The experience, I'm the richest person on this planet because of the experience that I've gotten from the fans, from the kids, the things that I've seen, going to hospitals, doing Make-A-Wishes, and just going on a Saturday morning to do a concert. And
wow,
those kids got up at 5 a.m. and they woke their parents up, and everything it took to get them in the car and then get them to the arena and then get them in the seat. And then at the end of the show, when Barney's singing "I Love You" and the child hugs their parent and gives them a kiss and says "I love you," they get it, right? It's all worth it. And I got back in the costume actually 7 months ago.
Wow.
Just because I can't, it's the same thing. You just the opportunity to touch people, and you understand how important it is what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible to leave.
That's so true, and I can relate with you, and I think that puts us on that same playing field. The fact that the effect that we had on children is just a wonderful feeling, and like you said, it's so gratifying. One of the things, the problems that I had when I went on my kind of like visits.
Yes.
For instance, when I would go to a mall,
right,
and the Roosevelt Mall in New York wanted me to do an appearance there. And like I said, like venues like for WLIW out of New York, they would ask me to come down and do an appearance in New York City.
Wow.
And so I had to tell, I had to figure out a way. What can I do? Because I'm doing the show, and everything's done on the show.
Right.
I would do a drawing, I would color it, and I would entertain the kids, and that would be it. So now, how do I transfer that over to a live appearance? So what I did, and I'll give you a little example here.
Okay.
Is somehow I had to connect with the kids through drawing, but do it in a real fun way. So I came up with the whole idea of doodle challenges.
Okay.
And the kids would do a doodle for me, and I would make something out of the doodle. And then I expanded from that and said, well, why don't I ask them if they would like to do a doodle? And then I would say, would you like to do a letter from the alphabet? Or pick a number from 1 to 100. And what they would do is I would ask a child to come up to the podium, and they were all excited. You know what I mean. If Barney said, "Hey, I need a volunteer," I guarantee you there'd be a billion hands popping up.
Right.
So I would say, okay, what's your name? Okay, Mary, come on up here. So Mary would come up here, and she would put, for instance, the number 2. I don't know if you can see this. I'll try to get it so you can see it.
Yeah, and you can see us on YouTube, see all that he's doing.
Okay, so like they would put the number 2 here.
Okay.
And I go, first thing I would say to him is, what do you see, Mary? I see like a swan or a duck. I said, yeah, but I think it's a bird. And I said, if I put a line there, and I did that, and then I put another oval here and colored it in, we would have eye. And then if I go like this, oh, look, there's a bird's beak. And look at that, there's a hair. And hair's on his head. And then I would make a body like that. And I would put 2 long little legs like that, like he's walking. And then I would draw part of the wing. And I said, what could he be doing? What could that bird be doing? And I go, oh, I know, he has a yo-yo. So I would go like that and put some movement lines. Right. And the kids would go nuts. And
that kind of reminds me of Big Bird. I don't know. Little Birds and whatnot from Sesame Street. And he did a drawing. It's awesome, man. Continue on.
That's how I did all my appearances, by doing doodles and scribbles.
Wow.
And it turned out to be quite a successful technique to entertain the kids. Because I tell you what, after I did the first one, all 500 kids wanted a doodle.
Oh,
wow.
Sure. You've got Michael, you've got me and Derek, our producer here, smiling, and I'm kind of blown away by that too. That's brilliant.
Wow.
And that works on the imagination, which I think is so great.
Yes, and that was the whole technique behind doing doodles and drawings. Was I didn't want to do it for myself. I wanted them to test their own imagination and test their imagination so that they could see in their mind's eye and their creative eye what that scribble line could be, what that letter from the alphabet could be.
Right.
And it was amazing how smart these kids are, what they would come up with. And it was a tremendous subliminal way to teach them to draw, or inspire them to draw, I must say. It was a really great technique for them it was a great learning experience for them, because they get to use their own imagination, their own ideas.
Right.
Of course, now here's a funny one. I got to show you this. This
all right.
I was at there's always that one child.
Sure.
That wants to be a little bit aggravating. Kids don't get me.
I've met that child. I know exactly what you're talking about.
He goes like this. Hey, and I went, oh boy. So I said, oh, and in my head I'm going, you're so cute. So I would go like this, and I would continue making scribbles, right? And then I would make a plate like this, and I put a fork, and then I would put some meatballs.
Oh man, that's spaghetti and meatballs. I thought it was a hat, but anyway, let's continue on.
And some, there you go, hot spaghetti.
Hot spaghetti. Wait. I Wait, had spaghetti? Ew. Continue on.
Because I knew it was kind of being a little bit tough on me.
That's brilliant.
So
Oh
that's
yeah, well,
basically-
we dealt with that too. You know, you always deal with kids want to pull Barney's tail and all of those things. Yeah, I've dealt with that too. But I love how you turned it around. That's brilliant.
Yeah, and if it wasn't that, it would be smoke out of a chimney
Sure.
house, and that was my other technique to get rid of that night. But it was a real joy, and I'm still doing doodles and entertaining kids today. And when you mentioned doing birthday parties,
Yeah.
that thing that I did a lot of too was birthday parties, and that was up close and personal, which was a lot of fun.
Sure.
And if there were 10 children at the party, excuse me, I would do 10 doodles, but they had their choice. Sometimes I would say, what is your first name? And they would say, Linda. I would take the letter L, and I would draw something from the letter L, because it made it personal, because that was the first letter to their first name.
Right. I love that.
So I had a lot of fun, and I'm still having fun.
But I can see that. I can see that. Now, one of the things I think is so cool is that I always talk about the fact that Barney was done in Allen, Texas. I'm a proud Texan, and so we did it in a small town in Texas here.
Wow.
And your show was done up in New York.
Oh, really? Sesame Street Place. Continue on.
New York.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
What challenges did you guys? Because we had a very small studio when we started Barney. What were the challenges? Because I know yours was done on blue screen, right? Most of the show was done on blue screen.
I think a lot of it is green screen now, or they probably used a combination.
Sure.
Some studios prefer blue, others prefer green. I don't know.
Sure. But what challenges did you guys find with your show, taping your show?
What's that? I'm sorry.
What challenges did you find being in a small studio, taping that show, putting that show together?
Okay, we had our studio was a pretty good sized studio. We filmed, we taped it at WCNY in Syracuse, New York.
Okay.
That was our PBS affiliate, and we actually had a contract with them to produce the the rest of the. And we did the 16, and then we continued until we had a total of 65 that we did at the PBS station. I tell you what the challenge was. There was always something happening. Like we had to audition all these puppeteers, and then the puppeteers started to get a little bit antsy. They felt like, wow, this show is gonna be big, and we're not getting paid enough. So sometimes we have a little problem there, but most of the time, so we've narrowed it down to the best puppeteers possible for each character, and that was a challenge keeping those people happy. And then there was the challenge of lighting and trying and getting in the right spot on because the screen was a huge blue screen,
right?
And I had no idea where I was on the screen until they put tape on the floor that I had to follow. Like when we taped the intro of me dancing through Pappy Land.
Yes.
And I'm not a dancer, Carrie. That was quite a challenge. I mean, I was jumping around and spinning around my pencil, and I was just. It took a few takes, but we had to tape it on a blue screen, and I had no idea where I was going until they did that. Because initially I just started dancing around. I said, whoa, you need to follow the tape marks.
Right.
So I ended up, everything on the green screen was challenging. Sometimes I couldn't memorize all my lines and still be animated.
Sure.
So I had the monitors. I had to look at monitors on occasion. Sometimes it was just automatic for me to do it, and then sometimes I needed a monitor because it got a little bit intense. But it basically it was working with other people because you try to be on an even keel with other people when you're working with them.
Right.
And for instance, one time I got a little upset at one of the producers there. She was in the control room, and she kept on telling me to do something a certain way, and I said, no, this would look better, because I felt like I kind of had a good handle on what looks good, being the creator of the show.
Sure.
And she would contradict me, and she did that like 2 or 3 times, and I finally said, stop. I said, this is my show, and I want this to happen. And I actually was a little bit upset. We made up after we gave each other hugs, and everything was fine. Sometimes I'm sure you must have experienced tension yourself on the set.
Well, you get into the creative aspect, everyone, and that's what makes creativity so amazing, right? Is that everyone's got their visions and you work together and it's collaborative, and so absolutely. We saw, we were dealing with a big purple dinosaur and children and other dinos, and so there was a lot going on.
I have a question for you, if I may.
Absolutely.
Was it difficult for you to move around in the costume at times? Like your peripheral must have been tough. Left, unless you turn your head to the left, right? I mean left.
Sure.
And you turn your head to the right.
Sure.
You really couldn't see it until you actually looked in that direction. So, did you ever feel like you were going to bump into the kids or something like that?
No, I was lucky because my career started off doing the touring and working a stage, so I really got used to it out there. And what I would do is when I would walk in a room, I'd basically memorize the room. So I would look around and see where a pole was or an exit sign or where something was. And so I would just maneuver the room that way.
I see.
But on the TV show, we would have what was called Barney Camp, and we would work with the children actors and let them know, okay, look, they can't always see, they're this and this and that. So we would actually practice those things. So we didn't, obviously every once in a while we did bump into someone or we'd fall and things like that. But for the most part, we practiced it so that didn't happen.
Okay. One of the elements of Pappy that I did mention was the music segments.
Yes.
On our show. John Pepper, the co-creator of Pappy Land, had a friend named Michael Curley, and he was Sing-A-Song Sam.
Okay.
Wow.
Which John Nappa gave him that name, which I thought was kind of a cute name, Sing-A-Song Sam. And each episode I would say, "Oh, sing a song. Do you have a song for us today about caring? Or do you have a song for us today about strength?" And he would, show up. I don't know where with his piano on set. He'd come around with that 1,000-pound piano now, and he would be a joy to work with. And Mike Curley was one of the nicest people I ever worked with. He was kind. He was 6'5", and I remember always when I would talk to him, it'd always be like this, because I'm only 5'7", if I'm lucky. And I would always look up, "Mike, how you doing?" My neck is killing me, Mike. Could you just bend down a little bit? So, anyways, he was a real good guy. He wrote, him and another fella co-wrote a lot of this, the music and the intro. The Pappy Lane intro, which is very popular, kids love that, and he would sing that to me when I go on my appearances, and that would be flattering. And Mike Curley is might be a good idea to have on your show possibly, because he's kind of like, he was an integral part of the show. The Sing-A-Song Sam was a big segment of the show.
Well, and that's what. No, I love it. I love it. Well, we learned obviously with Barney the importance of music. Kids love music. They love to dance, and so it doesn't surprise me that music was such an important part of your show, because it was obviously a huge part of our show.
Did you have writers?
We did. We did, and
music, I mean.
Yes. Yeah, we did. And in fact, the theme song for my show, Purple Roads, was done by the writer of a lot of the Barney music.
Wow.
So I've stayed very good friends, and he actually did the theme music for Purple Roads.
Wow.
Now, let me ask you, did you hire talented kids that had singing lessons? Because some of the kids singing sounded so good.
Well, it's interesting. First of all, which may surprise a lot of people, the gentleman that recorded all of the kids singing was my brother. Casey Stinson worked on the show and did all the recordings with them. What they did is, some of the kids were very good singers, but some of them weren't. And so the choruses were actually professional children singers that they used with a lot of that. But a lot of them, they were singing, because I don't know if you realize that Demi Lovato and Selena Gomez were both on the Barney show back when I was doing the show.
Wow.
And my brother... Yeah, and my brother actually recorded both of them, and
Wow.
he said, they're really talented, and it's funny where they've gone. Where they've gone, obviously they were really talented.
Yeah, absolutely. That is awesome. That is awesome. I just got a thing from TLC. Ryan, my good friend Ryan is here, and he notified me, and he said that the TLC had said that I was one of the top
IMDb ratings.
I'm the IMDb
Yep.
ratings. I was one of their most popular shows on the Learning Channel,
Wow.
which was flattering because I had no idea. And I knew parents loved it because when they discontinued this, we were on the Learning Channel, by the way, for 4 years.
Wow.
And when they took it off, parents responded saying, please put it back on. And I think they put it back on short stint. And that was exciting to know that the parents were behind me like that,
Yeah.
It was just, the whole thing was just, it almost seems, in retrospect, it just seems like a creative, imaginative dream that became a reality. and now I have there's like a revival now.
Sure.
All the kids that were little responding to right now at the age of 30-something, and they're all saying how much I helped them in their careers, like we mentioned in the earlier portion of your show here.
Right.
And it's just amazing how this thing just continues and has its own legs still. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, we're going through the same thing with Barney, that now they're adults, and so they're, of course, showing it to their children.
Wow.
And so you're seeing that same thing. We're getting all of these fans that are 30s and millennials that love Barney, and now their kids are getting into Barney again.
I think it's wonderful, and I think the idea that you have with the show that you're doing, putting on, children's entertainment stars, is a great idea, and I just think it's a great thing that you're doing here.
Well,
Give me an opportunity. Gotta let my fans know what's going on.
well, thank you. What was so important is that for people.
Oh, is that something like that? Yeah, it's kind of hurt. Continue on.
For everyone loved my show, loved your show, but what I wanted people to understand is how much you loved it. You understood that your fans loved the show, and it was important to you. You weren't just going to do it for a paycheck and become some big star. You believed in the message. You wanted to help children and their creativity. And I think that's what's so cool about all this, is that the fans are realizing the people that they loved them and loved what you were doing.
Yeah. Yes, and when you think of companies like Crayola, I mean, I don't think I've been, in a relatives or, my grandkids or my, anywhere I go to school where there's a lot of children, all the kids have crayons, most of them, and they love to draw. Yeah. I'd say a good 80% of them. There's some kids when I would say, does anybody out there like to draw and doodle? And then, all the hands would go up. But there'd be a lot of kids that didn't raise their hands.
Wow.
And I used to tell them, I said, those of you that didn't raise your hands, I said, you can do it. You can be an artist. You can draw. And I'm going to help you do that right now. And then I would go into my doodle and the visual kind of, I tried to get that visual connection going. If I made a circle, for instance, the first thing I would say is, I wouldn't tell them what that was. I would say, can you tell me what you think that is? And they would say, it's a wheel. I go, yes. And I'd say, what else? It's a face. And I go, that's right. It could be a face because our face is oval shaped. And sometimes there's some people with a rounded face. And I would say, what else could it be? And another kid would raise, if it's a balloon. I go, yeah, it could be a balloon. You see how the shape is shaping your imagination? And that's exactly the technique I use to teach kids how to visualize not what something is, but what something could be. And that's where the imagination comes in. They don't look at a number 2 and say, yeah, that's a number 2. And somebody would say, yes, that's a number 2. And I'd say, no, it isn't. I said, it's a swan.
Wow.
or it's a bird, or it's a plane, or it's a frog.
Wow.
And let me give you another example.
Sure, absolutely. I love these. I love it.
And and the number 2 is probably one of my favorite numbers because you can switch.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, okay, the number 2.
Okay.
And I made a bird, right?
Yep.
Mm.
But also, it's a frog.
Mm.
See, just by making some small adjustments.
Wow.
Like this.
Uh-huh.
Instead of doing a beak, now I do a frog. And I would bring the leg over like that. And I would put a couple arms like that. A couple circles for polka dots. And boom. Now I have a frog. Of course, I would have to make the lily pad. And
Wow.
the kids would say, oh, wow, you can make a frog from the number 2 also? I said, yes. And then some of the children would say, like, they'd come up and do a scribble.
Okay.
So they would draw that.
Sure.
And I would say, what do you see? And then somebody might say, oh, I see a rabbit. Or I see a mouse. Or I see a face. So I'd go, yeah, I see a face too.
It's a human being. I don't know. It's like Mark Brown, something like that.
And I would draw the face like that. That would be the nose, and they all go, "Oh wow, look at that!" And that's how I would entertain the kids. So,
well, I love it. I love it, and I think
Yeah, it's like Mark Brown difference. Continue on.
The most important part that you're doing is encouraging, because there's a lot of kids that are scared or nervous, and you're encouraging them to try, which is the most important thing. Just try.
Exactly. If a child just comes out of their shell, and I can get them to come out of their inner self and the fears that they have of trying different things, then I accomplish my goal as an entertainer, a children's entertainer. And we like to call it, and I'm sure you did also, we called it edutainment.
Yeah.
Because we would educate the children and entertain them at the same time.
Wow.
And that's kind of a cool term, edutainment. So
it's great. Who inspired you to become an artist? Who inspired you?
Okay. I have to mention somebody that you probably won't know, but some of the older viewers out there will probably remember this dude. His name is John Nagy.
Okay.
Really? John Nagy? I did not know this, but anyway, continue on.
And I think it's GNAGI or something like. I can't remember how to spell it. It could be a Y or an I. But anyways, his name was John Nagy. He learned to draw, and he had a television program just like Bob Roth did.
Okay.
Bob Roth specialized in painting.
If you watch this remix, it's for you, Bob Ross.
Sure.
This guy used chalk, because the shows back then, like The Rifleman and Wanted Dead or Alive, those westerns, they were all black and white in the early days. So John Nagy would come on, and he had 3 different shades of pastel chalk.
Okay.
He had the black, he had another tone that was like maybe 30% of a gray, and then he had a very soft, like maybe 10% of a lighter tone, but it wasn't white. And he would draw using the side of the chalk.
Wow.
And that's where I got my idea when I would tell children, don't worry if you break your crayon, just take that smaller segment of the crayon and use it on the side to color a larger portion of your drawing when you were calling it in or filling it in. And so he inspired me to draw first, because I couldn't believe he was drawing landscapes, and he drew a Great Dane, all doing this chalk, and it would be just like Pappy, only there was no plot. He was just at the easel like Bob Ross.
Wow.
And it was a fascinating show for its time. And he used to have a drawing set that I remember it was I'd be in the store, And I go in the store, there it was, a box. It had the 3 chalks. It had some paper stumps for blending the chalk.
Right.
And a couple graphite pencils, one that would make a light line, one would make a dark line. And it had what they call a kneaded eraser, which to me was fascinating. A kneaded eraser. What does that mean? And I remember when I first got it, I said, well, it's needed because now that I know what it does, I need to use this. So it was a kneaded eraser, as well as what they call a kneaded eraser. And it was called kneaded because it was pliable. And as you know, a kneaded eraser is pliable. So I ended up stretching it because in order to clean it, get all the graphite out, you would stretch it. And you just keep stretching it until it became clean. It literally would clean itself.
Wow.
And I said, hey, I can mold a rabbit from this. So I literally started using a kneaded eraser to sculpt as well as to erase. And I remember before I did Pappy, I took a couple kneaded erasers and put them together in a big clump, and I literally made this little dragon character. And I said, wow, this looks just like a dragon, but he needs teeth. So I went in the kitchen and I got some white rice, and I individually stuck each individual piece of rice in the upper and lower portion until I had this dragon with all these teeth. I'm using a kneaded eraser instead of clay. It was really fascinating what I did with items that were artistically supposed to be used for drawing and erasing, erasing lines.
Right.
And I would make a little character out of it. So that kind of like helped me in my puppet making experience because I have no experience at all. When I did Pappy Land in the beginning, I had no experience with puppets. It was all new to me. But because I had this, I don't know, it's like an innate knowledge, a God-given talent on how to make things. I could visualize in my mind, like, how do I make a mouth move?
Right.
So I would...
Yeah, kind of like Jim Henson Muppets. But anyway, continue on.
Side and say, well, there has to be a pivot point or a hinge. So now I'm figuring out ways to hinge them out together. And now I have to figure out, well, what would make the eyebrow move? And I started to study books on, puppet making, some basic books at the time. Now everything's animatronics and really, really complicated stuff. But during the Pappy Land period in the early 90s there, I made everything with latex foam, cutting and shaping foam with a very fine scissors, taking circular wooden balls for eyes and putting springs and using all kinds of different, and I would just figure out in my head how to do it, how to make things work.
Wow.
For instance, Chucky, this was basically one of my first puppets that I made.
Okay.
And I had my wife who was, she's somewhat of a seamstress, and she always helped me on creating like the arms and sewing the head. And I would just, this is just a basic puppet, so all I needed to do was have, the mouth move.
Right.
Yeah. So anyways, Amy. And thanks. You're welcome. Anyways, so
kind of reminds me of Screw and Nutty, drop version of that. Continue on.
The puppets. It was just I just knew how to do it because if you know how to draw, then you can visualize it in 3D.
Right.
Wow.
And that's what you make the puppets because I could see what I had to make.
It's kind of what reminds me of Pixar when Toy Story came out in 1995, and when I first saw it, and when I was first came to Morgan, mom to pick up Morgan daycare, I was like, oh my god, Toy Story was a phenomenon in theaters. Well, I was in daycare when I first saw it, anyway. But then, A Bug's Life and Toy Story 2 came out, and I'm like, god. Continue on.
I made his front teeth.
Yeah.
So I went to my shop and I just took a piece of wood and I carved out a slot. And then I just sanded it, and then I hot glued it up into the crevice of the upper part of the puppet.
Right.
It came natural to me. He needed glasses too, so I went to a novelty store and they sold doll supplies, and I saw these glasses, so I just bought them and stuck them on the puppet. And everything just came together. It was
Right.
really amazing how and everything came together, and I made a lot of friends.
Wow.
I can see you got a lot of. Do you remember which one was your first puppet that you made?
Yeah, I did. Chucky was probably one of the first ones. A lot of them happened all at the same time.
Okay.
In other words, I started the Chucky first, and then I went to Turtle Lou.
Okay.
And Turtle Lou was all done with latex and tissue paper and just cotton. It was very basic.
Wow.
Now they would probably do the way I would do it now is I would make a clay sculpture, make a mold, pour my latex within the mold, pull out the latex, and I would have this outer shell or face. That's how I did Elmer. You can see Elmer. He's kind of comatose right now.
Right.
Wow.
Elmer now, I took the mechanism out of his mouth, but I had a spring in there that I could control from behind. See, I had like a rod coming out from the back. And on the set of Pappy Land, I had the rod going all the way down through the center so that people were underneath and they were controlling it like a trigger like this.
Yeah.
And every time I would squeeze, the mouth would open. And that's how, and this was I did this technique for his face. I utilized clay. I did a clay sculpture of his face. Then I made a mold and I pulled the latex out of the interior of the mold, and that's how I made Elmer. I actually used some of the contemporary techniques that they use now. And then again, my wife made all the clothes and stuff.
That's
and,
great.
It was quite a challenge, and it was a lot of fun. And I look at all these puppets now. And it just amazes me because I can actually see my accomplishments before me.
So when you created them, did you have envisioned what they were going to sound like? So when you auditioned the puppeteers, did you help in that, or did the puppeteers bring that, or was it a combination?
Yeah, the puppeteers. John Napa, the guy that wrote Pappy Land, co-created it with me. Yeah. He gave all the characters a persona, a description of who they were, what they should sound like. Because, for instance, Turtle Louie. So I said to myself, well, Turtle Louie, he has to be an Italian turtle.
Right.
And that's why he has a tie. His tie has little tomatoes on it. So that's how I ended up doing his tie, and there's all little tomatoes on there. And so Gabe Velez, by the way, was one of the puppeteers for Sesame Street.
Okay.
And
wow. Gabe, okay. Continue on.
We hired him to do Turtle Lou, and so he gave him the accent. So Turtle Lou sounded like, well, geez, man, that's a good drawing. He tried to do that Italian persona. And then Chucky Woodchuckles was done by a friend of mine, Chris Grom, and he's the guy that brought Chucky to life. Okay. And then there's Doodlebug, was brought to life through Marilyn Arnone, and she was a professor over at Syracuse University. Uh-huh. And she was on the Howdy Doody show, years later.
Oh, really? Howdy Doody show? Okay, that was awesome. That was like, okay, I got the DVDs and all the things that you saw, but okay, I didn't see where this is going. Continue.
When the show became, it kind of like played out, right. But then they kind of like brought it back again. And when she was on the show as one of the co-hosts there, wow. Marilyn Arnone, she did Doodlebug, and she did a fantastic job with Doodlebug. Just to make it's so hard to be a puppeteer. Sure. I thought I could do it. I can make them, but to operate them really does take a special talent. And all the puppeteers on Pappy Land, I must say, did a great job. I was really happy with them.
What was it like for you to interact with the puppets? Because you're not a trained actor. I mean, was it a challenge for you?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I've always been animated. Right. People always said, "Gee, Mike, you're animated. You ought to go into movies." I go, "Well, I'm not an actor." Oh, yeah. Anyway, so that's how it kind of came natural to me to be Pappy and be that persona. But working around puppets was a riot. For instance, Chucky. I remember one morning, it was early. We would start our shoot at 6 o'clock, and it would go to 6:30 in the evening.
Right.
Well, in the morning, everyone was kind of like, trying to unwind. So I get my coffee, and I'd go over to Chris Grom, who was operating Chucky, and I say, "Good morning." I'm not even saying good morning to Chris Grom now. I'm so used to having the puppet characters. I'm saying, "Good morning, Chucky." And there's Chris Grom. He's a human being sitting right there. And all of a sudden, he goes to the character. He goes, "You talking to me? You want a piece of me? Come on, Drewitt. You want a piece of me?" And he would crack me up. He had a sense of humor that was out of this world. And when he did, and it just kind of set the stage for the day's shoot. Because, sometimes you get up in the morning and you're like really not in a mood, And then you have to get in a mood. And the puppeteers really interacting with them helped me get into the mood. So that was really a joy working with the puppets.
Still.
They became real, almost like real people.
So what are you doing these days?
Right now I'm in sunny Florida, in beautiful horse country, which is Ocala, Florida. And I have a studio here. I have a space here, and I just finished a pilot for a show called Pappy's Art Ventures. And it's basically similar to Pappyland, but it's not in Pappyland anymore.
Yeah.
It's in a different environment. And if you go on YouTube, you can if you just type in Pappyland, you'll see all kinds of stuff. You'll see footage from the old shows. You'll probably run into a link that shows Pappy's Art Ventures, that new show, the new show that I just finished. And I'm currently working on episode 2. And we're also selling a lot of fun products, that we've come up with to try and make some of those nostalgic Pappy fans happy out there.
Right.
Because they love to have a piece of Pappyland, and so I would come up with little posters and little things like that, and we would actually sell. This is kind of interesting. What I have here is This is the actual reel-to-reel.
Wow.
From the one episode. This one was "Would You Be Woody's Friend?" The larger reels have 2 shows on them. "The Day Pappyland Lost Its Color," and that was a fun show too. These are the original, and my friend Ryan Lilly, he bought these online.
Wow.
Somebody from the studio way back 20 years ago when we were doing the show apparently had a connection to the studio. And before they put them on Betacam, the cassettes,
Sure.
to distribute the distributors, this was the original reel-to-reel in the days when they had the reel, and it's all tape. It's probably oxidized, but we were selling these also online, and people are buying these as nostalgic pieces. And I actually signed them and did a little doodle.
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
Give some of the love back, so to speak.
That's awesome. Are you still doing your art? Are you still drawing?
Oh yeah, in fact, can you I have one of my art pieces right on the wall here. Thank you. I'm a fine artist as well as a cartoonist.
Wow.
And you can see.
Wow, that's beautiful. I'm a fine art photographer, so I didn't even know we had this in connection too.
Yeah, and I love using photographers. Of course I change them. I don't.
Sure.
It's not like I'm buying their photos and selling them because that's illegal. But I am inspired by photographers because they have the means to give me some of the visuals that I can't get on my own.
Sure.
Wow.
And I've seen beautiful landscapes and wonderful drawings of animals or photographs of animals that I could never do. I mean, how am I going to get a picture of a lion? And if it's a beautiful picture, then of course I'll paint it my own way. But I like to, I always give the photographer credit. If somebody did an article on me and said, "Where'd you get that line?" And I said, "Well, I got that at a photographer, and I give his name because I want to give him credit." And not this.
Sure.
I'm just using.
Well, I've seen what you can. I've seen what you can do with the number 2, so I can just imagine what you can do with a picture.
Wow.
Oh yeah, and speaking of animals, let's do one more because this is.
Let's definitely. We got to finish off with one more. I love it.
Okay. Here we go. Speaking of lions, right? This
Okay.
used to be one of my favorites.
All right.
from the letter X.
Okay.
Wow.
The line from the letter X. I don't see a line. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? I go, well, if I did this, and I connected here, and then I connected here, and I put a little notch there and a notch here, then we have like the nose. Oh, look at that. Now you have the bottom of the line's jaw. Bring that line up. Put a couple of circles there like that. Like that. And now we can draw the ears like this. And then we bring this line around. Bring that around like that for his jaw, his cheeks. And now we have a line with the letter X. And they go, wow, a line from the letter X. I used to thrill the kids doing that stuff.
I'm going wow from the letter X. I didn't see that either. That's phenomenal.
It's amazing what you can draw from letters, scribbles, and numbers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Michael, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Carrie, and it's a pleasure meeting you. I tell you, you don't know what a joy it is, and even the folks here at the studio, we're excited when you contacted my friend Ryan. He told me about this. I had no idea, but he said, Mike, guess who just contacted us? And I said, who? He said, Carrie Stinson. And I went, well, I'm not familiar with Carrie Stinson. He's the guy that played. And he went, whoa, really? I said, awesome. So I was excited, Carrie, and I want to thank you for having me as a children's entertainment guest.
Well, it's been such a pleasure. Congratulations to you, and I think it's amazing what you've done with art and children. My sister's an artist, and I've seen her career, and I see how important it is for people like you to show what you can do with art, and what you've done with letters and numbers is just amazing.
Thank you, and it's all about imagination and creativity. And remember, I like to say that life is a journey, okay? And the journey is, and my journey was about creativity and imagination. That's my journey, and I wanted to pass that along to the children, that they can do it if they try, and always be the best that you can be, no matter what you do, whether it be drawing or trying to accomplish something, or how you treat people. Treat people with respect, and they'll show you love back.
It's the perfect way to end, because it's absolutely 100%. Thank you so much, Michael. I want to thank all our fans of Purple Roads. Remember to keep your eyes, ears, and heart open, and you'll find your Purple Road. I love you all, and I'll see you next week.
So that was Purple Roads, episode 8. Michael, Pappy, Drewitt, Cariglio, or way you pronounce it. What do I think about this episode? It was amazing. I have never seen Pappy before drawing letters and numbers and scribbles. So, that's just me. I will watch it some other time, but that's just me. I just want to see it, but I haven't. It's part of my early adulthood, but for now, I haven't saw it yet. It's part of my. It's part of PBS growing up. But anyway. But anyways, guys, that was episode of LJPCBM, episode number 413. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one, which is going to be Lucas a Cool Guy content. Just more of that. It's not going to be reciting SpongeBob episodes, which I have already done that. But it's not going to be reciting SpongeBob episodes. It's going to be a little bit different than that. Lucas, if you watch this episode right now, you're next, buddy. But until next time, so Jerry's goodbye, peace out, baby. You get more LJPCBM episodes for you guys very soon. But the minute Jumper saying out. See ya.
Giving on to me, this life I'll never take for granted, and giving all the time I failed to really understand it. I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening. But I tried all the time. Why was I the one to see things as I do?